Welcome to The Real Look. I'm Bruce Hardy.
And I'm Chase Williams.
And we're so excited to introduce this episode's appropriately named Northern Lights guest, Aurora Courtney, with Keller Williams Alaska Group in Anchorage, Alaska. Aurora was born and raised in beautiful downtown Anchorage, an Alaskan through and through. For the past 6 years, Aurora has been helping people rent, buy, and sell homes after working a full-time job in the Alaskan oil and gas industry. In 2022, Aurora closed over $19 million in volume with over 50 transactions, alongside her husband with her team, Tag Real Estate. She strives to help her clients price properties, negotiate fair and equitable deals, get matched with the right contractors, find rental properties, and qualified tenants. Please enjoy this conversation with Aurora Courtney. Well, g'day, Aurora. Welcome to The Real Look. Where does today's podcast find you?
I am in beautiful Anchorage, Alaska.
Anchorage, Alaska. Well, have the fish started running yet? It's a little early, isn't it?
It is a little early, although we went to a youth fishing get-together this weekend from Alaska Fishing Game down in Seward, Alaska. So it was kind of fun. They give out gear for the kids to try fishing, and then they give away a bunch of gear that's donated by Cabela's and Walmart.
Well, It's part of the lifestyle up there, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Aurora, we all have a story and a journey prior to real estate. So give us a little bit of your background. How did you end up here?
I don't know. That's a wonderful question. I don't know how I ended up in real estate, but I absolutely love it. I actually studied science in college. So I have a natural science degree, and I mostly studied rocks, which are far from people. So I started doing permitting, which I think started me kind of on the journey of enjoying paperwork and contract writing and kind of, getting things right, because that's really important in life in general, but also in real estate. So when you permit projects, someone comes to you and they say, I have something I want to get done. I have a goal I want to accomplish. And then same thing with real estate. Someone says, hey, I want to buy a condo, or I want to start my investment journey, or something like that. So I think that's sort of the connection there. But I did permitting for 10 years before. And when I was working with an oil company, they needed someone with a real estate license and a permitting background. So they paid for my real estate license, actually, which is kind of an interesting way to get one. And then when that project ended, I was projectized, meaning like when the project ends, you go to the next project, or you wait it out, or you move, or whatever. And I thought, hey, I've got a license and I like real estate. At the time, I'd purchased rentals, and we had house hacked, and we'd done, all the things, fix and remodel and the burr method and all those things. I was like, this will be an interesting, different change that I have an opportunity to try out. And I just have never left.
Okay, so what year was that you decided and made the decision to go full-time in real estate sales?
So I started doing real estate sales in 2017, May of 2017.
Okay. You had an investor journey prior to that. As you mentioned, you did house hacking and investing. And so what got you started in that?
When I was 19 years old, I had a puppy, actually, and I couldn't find a rental property, and realized how challenging it was to rent. But I didn't want to keep living with my parents while I was in college. So I decided to buy a house. And I thought, oh, it can't be that hard. Everyone does it, It was challenging, but I was low income at the time because I was a college student, not making a ton of money. And I started researching all the programs, and there was a down payment assistance program, and I had scholarships from the university. And so I was lucky enough to have some of that paid for, and just saved every dollar that I had and worked multiple jobs. And at 19, I bought my first house and then rented out the bedrooms to other college students, and then realized that was a great idea, and went back and lived with my mom and rented out that last bedroom. I liked making money. It was fun.
That's a full commitment right there. Full commitment.
Absolutely. First, I wanted to get out, and then I wanted back in. Yeah, that's what started it. And then from there, I was like, hey, I'm going to buy a single family house. I don't like living with other people. And I realized that really just doesn't make a lot of sense. Living in a single family home when you have the opportunity to live in a multiplex. So we then bought a house that had 3 units. It's a non-conforming triplex, and then bought the lot next door and built another house. It has technically 2 units, but another kind of small area that we can rent, like a bedroom that has a kitchenette in it. Bought a triplex after that. So we just keep buying them because it makes sense, and they pay for themselves if you do it right, hopefully.
You were investing in real estate, you had your license, and then 2017, you really started focusing on the sales side of the business, the client side of the business. Do I have that right?
Yeah, except I didn't really feel like I was an investor. People had called me that, and I never thought about myself as an investor, really. So 2003, I bought that first house and then started renting the bedrooms. And I just thought I was, being smart.
You were.
Thank you. I didn't realize it then, exactly. I just was like, oh, this makes sense. I'll pay for the house and then have some cash and buy the next house. And, you start listening to things like other podcasts, the Bigger Pockets or those things, and they talk about it and you're like, wow, that's awesome. So as I went through and had my, quote unquote, real job, my W-2 job, I didn't really think about myself as being an investor until I thought, okay, well, I'm going to be in real estate and see if I like it full time. And I really do. I enjoy being in real estate and helping others. So I had a little bit of a head start, I think, from a newer agent because I had that experience and I'd already done a 1031 tax exchange with my own house. I'd built a new construction multiplex. I had, lived in bedrooms and rented them out and, all of those types of things. So I feel like that gave me a leg up, and then people would come to me for advice anyway. And once I started doing it full time and I was allowed to sell, because I got my license originally in 2015, but didn't start selling till 2017 because of my agreement with them. That was kind of the fun part, is then bringing others on this journey with me. And hopefully someday we'll all be financially free.
How did you get into conversation and generate the buyers and sellers that you needed to really be on the sales side successfully when you first started out?
So when I first started, I have to be honest, I was sort of like, gosh, I don't know what to say. I have project management professional certification, and I've been dealing with multi-million-dollar projects and working in the field and traveling around the United States and to Canada to give presentations. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm a real estate agent. Like, what do you say? I watched other people. I think my biggest advice in that, realm of my time period was asking people who are doing better than you. You earn a license and then you find a brokerage and then you sit down at your beautiful desk and then you don't know what to do. So I actually went and I saw a newspaper in the front lobby and it had, all the top producers of the quarter. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go talk to all these people. That's my goal, and ask them how they did it and what I should do. So I did buy Zillow leads at first because the people around me, like you kind of said, how do you even talk to your friends? You're like, okay, now I just started, want to buy a house with me? And I was lucky enough that two of my good friends did want to, they were jockeying for position to be my first sale, which was really awesome. I'm so thankful to my friends and family members who trusted me at first. I did my best then and I do my best now. And I feel like, you just have to show who you are. And when you're wrong, you say, I don't know, or I'm not sure how that happened, but let me fix it. Just tell the truth always, hey, I'm new, but I have lots of time to work with you. I'll do my best. You're my only client.
So that first year, what did that look like production-wise for you?
I think my first year, I really only netted like $10,000. And I was so poor, because you work so hard and you're working every minute of every day and going to the events you're supposed to and showing up at the real estate events with other realtors, trying to network. And you feel like maybe it's not going to work out. And it was silly to even think that it would work out. And then one day it just felt like it clicked. And I think that what made it click was talking to other people who were top producers. But then when I realized I really needed a coach, and instead of looking at like, oh gosh, I'm going to spend, whatever it was, I think it was $800 a month or something for 2 conversations, like, oh, how's this going to work out? But if I only make one more sale, it paid for, 6 months or a year of coaching. And I think that's where it started really, is the coaching, because then I was paying someone to help me instead of asking for help, and I would offer services. Hey, I'll do open houses. I'll do whatever it takes to have your service or your help or learn from you. And, that only goes so far when you're not paying someone. So anyway, coaching kind of pushed me over the edge. And then when it started working, people would refer me to their friends, or I would ask for the referrals. There was one strategy which has worked for me a couple times. It's funny, you say to people, is there anything else that you want to buy or sell? And sometimes they do. Or they don't realize that you can do sales that are outside of your normal area, especially remote sales. Sometimes people don't realize you'll do it. Why not? You can sell anything.
Well, and certainly that's the case in Alaska. What specifically about coaching do you think made the difference?
Everyone says accountability. It seems kind of cliche, but it really is, because it was somebody that I could talk to, kind of a counselor, if you will, where you're like, gosh, I don't know how this turned out that way, or it doesn't feel like this is working, or what do you think I should do about this form or checklist, or what's the next thing? Just having someone on your side that really wants you to be successful. And I feel like the people that go into coaching also have a vested interest in helping others and giving back to people that were just like them. We all started somewhere. So I feel like that was the most important thing, just having someone in your corner.
Well, if we fast forward to last year, 51 transactions for about 20 million? Does that sound about right?
Yep, that's right. So a lot of work. A lot of work. I work a lot.
You've got leverage now, right? It's not just you doing it, correct? So what does your team look like?
So I have a friend actually from elementary school's husband working with me, and he is wonderful. And my husband works with me, and he's wonderful as well. We have a transaction coordinator, which is a virtual assistant. She is also just a huge member of our team because we meet every week at least once on Google Meet. And then throughout the week, we kind of keep in contact, and I try to copy everyone that's important, and the communication between us works really well. So I'm super happy. I did have a marketing person. I probably would have a marketing person again, but it's a little challenging to keep up with marketing when you're actually doing the production too.
Tell us that part of the journey when your business got to a point where you said, hey, it's not just me anymore. Walk us through why you made that decision, how you made that decision, and what you learned through that process.
So I had about 3 years in a row where my GCI was about 300. And I felt like that was my glass ceiling because you only have so many hours in the day. And it goes right along with our MREA, like you look at the spreadsheets, you can only make about 300 by yourself. So I started to believe it, it works for others. I should probably pay attention. And I hired a couple of different assistants in person, and those worked pretty well. I felt like what I needed, and I was wrong. I felt like what I needed was a buyer's agent to help me. And it really isn't, because then you're your own assistant and you're their assistant and you're coaching and you're training. So if you follow the models, you get an assistant first. It actually helps a lot. So we did have another person that was in person helping us as well. And, people come and go in these positions, and there's other opportunities. And, not every assistant wants to become a realtor in the end. But I feel like the leverage portion, you need the person to do the administrative work, or you can't be doing the rainmaker work. So that's my growth journey, is learning that back and forth and then relearning it.
Well, I love that you have a copy of the MREA book sitting on your table there. That's pretty awesome. We become modelers, right? We're following models. And like you said, you learn from those experiences. Some of us take a little longer than others to get the lesson. But I appreciate you sharing that, because I think that's important. What does your business look like today? I mean, if you were to describe the avatar that is your client today, what type of client are they, buyer and seller?
That's a good question. I feel like the people that are gravitating towards me are people that are either moving to Alaska or have been referred to me. And I don't know why those people are attracted to me. I try to put on my Facebook and my social media and stuff things that we're doing. Like, you asked the question, what were we maybe doing this past week? Well, we were actually fishing. Good guess. We're ice fishing, or we're snow machining, or we're four-wheeling, or moose hunting, or whatever we're doing. And I feel like when people look me up, because your resume as a realtor is your social media, whether you like it or not, I just try to really show people what it is I'm doing. We throw the houses in there. I think that gets boring, It just shows that you're doing stuff. But what you're really doing is you're connecting with your community, you're connecting with your friends, your family, and, maybe they want to be your friend too. And maybe that's something I do. I like to collect my clients in my friend bucket.
Okay. So is social media a big part of your lead generation?
I don't know that it is, but I know that people look me up and I think they like what they see. I try to market on social media and, be the agent of choice in that way, but I don't feel like I spend as much energy as I probably could or should on it. I just try to show the authentic me and what I'm doing.
What do you do specifically to stay in touch with and nurture that sphere of influence and referrals that you mentioned? In addition to being somewhat active on social media, are there any other specific things you do to stay in relationship with those past clients, that community, as you mentioned it?
I sponsor Ferrandi, which is a local event where back in the day, the fur trappers and fur trade would come together, and they do it, but it's not the same as it used to be. And we sponsor the snow sculptures. And I started doing that because a client of mine just said to me, hey, they were amazing. They were great to work with. And they said, hey, you want to sponsor this? That was something that made a huge impact to me as a kid. It was free. Anyone could go. It goes on for a 2-week period. Everyone's welcome. Kids, adults, it doesn't matter. And I thought, what? That's a great way for me to give something back, because I want to not just be a realtor, but if you make good money, you should give back. In my head, and I don't know that this number is realistic for everyone, but like 10%, give it back to the community, because it will come back to you. If you do good things happen to you. So we sponsor that event every year. We hire a wonderful family that carves something for us. And they've been doing houses, and they sometimes do the bear from our logo. Then we have a little event and we invite people to meet the carvers, we call it. And then I invite my sphere and my client database to come do that. And I have about 50 people come, and it's kind of a uniquely Alaskan experience to be able to be a part of a snow sculpting team. I also send birthday cards. They're really hard to do. So if people are just starting, like, it is hard. You just got to do it. I handwrite them, or I have my assistant handwrite them. And I get a lot of thank yous from that. And that's not why I do it. But they say, I've never been to that restaurant, and it was such a treat to have a date with my wife, and I hadn't had that. So I feel like people really appreciate being recognized for something. And your birthday is one of those things where as you get older, you don't really celebrate it as often, or people don't notice, or you don't talk about it. So I love birthday cards. And then we do try to do other events. I buy tickets to a melodrama and invite some of my clients, or we go do goat yoga.
I love that some of these things that work so well now because they're newly unique, right? Like getting birthday cards in the mail years and years ago was more common. Now everyone just says something on social media. So something that worked then works even better now. It shows that you care in a different way, right? You took the time to send it.
Hang tight. We'll be right back. With Keller's successful career opportunities in real estate, also known as K-Score, we now live in a world where education is affordable, accessible, and students don't have to worry about financial constraints or the confinement of a physical classroom. K-Score is the first of its kind as a national, fully digital real estate training program. Keller Williams teamed up with Kaplan Real Estate Education to offer state-approved pre-licensing curriculum for aspiring real estate agents and continued real estate education credits for existing agents. Find out what K-Score offerings are available in your state by visiting kwnwr.com/K-Score and jumpstart your real estate career today. If I could, I'd love to just sort of go back and visit the investment piece, because I think a lot of realtors, unfortunately, don't come with an investment mindset. So I have a couple of questions. One is, how was the shift in 2008 for you? Because you were already investing in real estate by that time, right?
That was right before we bought our triplex. So it didn't affect us in that way. Not too bad. And I wasn't selling real estate then either.
And I assume that the property was positive cash flowing.
Yeah. At that time, I'd gone back to my mom's.
I love that. And again, I mean, that was where most people got caught, was their properties weren't positive cash flow. So I want to confirm that and dot that I, because I think that's really important. Why did you choose the multifamily route rather than single family as your investment strategy?
Okay, so this is how I think about multifamilies. I think about houses like a hamburger, and you have the bun, which is the roof, and then the foundation. You can stick as many houses around there as you want, and it's cheaper because you're all under one roof. You still only have one roof, even though you have 3 dwellings. So if you have a water heater go out, there's only one. If you have 3, there's 3 that you have to service. So I feel like multifamilies are a good investment. I also try to get multifamilies that look like single family houses. Fourplexes that look like fourplexes are fine, but I want to live in a single family home neighborhood. For instance, in the one that I built, one side of the house has a driveway in the garage, and that's the side that I live in. And then the other side has parallel parking along the backyard, and they enter through the other side. So they know that we're here, and I know that they're here, but we don't, fight for parking spots or jockey for position or any of that stuff. And then I have great gardens in the back for them to look at. And I try to keep them really nice with hanging baskets that I water. I want people to feel good about where they live.
Yeah. Now, do you share this investment strategy then with your clients?
Yeah, I talk about it if they ask. We had, for instance, 7 Airbnbs going last year out of the 11 properties. I call them kitchens because, it's hard to say which property, how many their buildings are. So there are 11 kitchens. We also specialize in longer than Airbnb stays. So if somebody has a flood or a fire or remodel in their kitchen, we'll take people on for 30 days or 6 weeks or things like that. So we'll do different stuff with people.
How does the short-term rental business differ from long-term rental in your mind, being that you have both sides?
They're completely different animals. I look at it in 2 ways. One, I don't have a lot of time. I'm very busy trying to like sell houses. So then when people are like, hey, I need the Wi-Fi code and where should I have breakfast and the remote's not working, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't handle this. So my husband kind of deals with that because I can't think about, investments and missing an appraisal and waiting on a septic report or something like that while I'm trying to find a remote. So I kind of have to keep those separate. But the rentals that are short term get less wear and tear, I have found, than the long-term rentals because they don't move all their stuff in. They don't cook every night or every day, and they don't bring their bikes in the house, that kind of stuff. So the short-term rentals I feel like have kept my houses really nice. We've been doing those on and off since 2018, and I do it seasonally or between tenants. I'll open it up. I do enjoy the short-term rentals because people come up here and love Alaska. And I watch them because I can see them from my window and they'll come in and they're just so excited. And I plant flowers and we have great annual flowers here. They're very colorful and beautiful. And it's the land of the midnight sun because we have sun all of the time. So I just watch people just love Alaska.
When you're talking to potential clients about investing in real estate, maybe it's their first investment property, what do you find that they're most nervous about or the thing that's kept them from investing up to that point?
I try to remind people that it's not about emotion or what it looks like. It's about how much money it makes. So I try to go through calculators and you can find them online. Bigger Pockets has one.
Yeah, we've actually had several people use Bigger Pockets. So,
I tell people to do that and I think they can get 3 or 4 months and I have a pro account. So if they want to do more, I can help them with it. But I tell them to just look at the numbers because if it's the paint that's chipping or whatever, just paint it. Or if it needs a shed or the boiler needs to go out, you just add that to it. It's all about the numbers. And that's what I like about investing because like I said, I studied rocks, not people and emotions. So I'm much better, when you look at the numbers, does it add up or not? It doesn't matter how it feels. It has to pencil. So even if it looks pretty, you probably shouldn't buy it.
And it's a tough transition for someone in their thinking if they're used to the house they live in and all the things that emotionally matter to them versus now becoming an investor. That's not automatic for people, right? It's counterintuitive almost if you've not done it before. So it's having someone to walk you through that thinking is super powerful.
Yeah. One of my other things that I tell people too is remember this every time you're about to spend money on your rental or your investment. Does it make you money? Yes or no? And people are like, oh, the cabinets. And I'm like, does it make you more money? No. Okay. I don't care if they're ugly. Keep them. They work, it doesn't matter. And people who are renting are there for a year. They don't care what color the cabinets are or whatever, as long as it's clean, it's safe, and it's, fresh and feels good.
When you think about how far your business has come now and that you have a team around you, what excites you most about the future when you think about the vision for your real estate team?
I guess I want to continue helping people, and there's still that glass ceiling at some point that you get to, right? Where you need more people to help more people. But I think for now, I'm kind of enjoying being small because the bigger I've gotten, we've had, 2 more team members than we have right now. I feel like I lose a little bit of that back and forth with people that I do like. And I don't like feeling slippery where I go from one person to the next and I just am like skating through transactions. I can only work with so many people and think about what they need and picture what their family will look like in that home and, do all of that stuff with so many people at a time. And I try to remember like their pets' names and their kids' names and, all the things that matter to them. And so I feel like my future probably holds more if we can help more families. But, at some point, I think being small really makes a big difference to people. We can help more people better.
Love that. So, Aurora, based on what you know today, if you were to go back and talk to your younger self, thinking about getting into real estate, what would your advice be?
I can get on board with the whole, like, what I should have or could have done. But I feel like I would say have confidence up front. And, I've heard people say, fake it till you make it or fake it till you become it. But I do think that in a way, you just have to have confidence in yourself because if you know you can do it, you can. If you're not sure you can do it, then you better figure out how to do it. But I think having more confidence would have been huge. And then I would say that to other people too, hang out with people who are doing better than you. You're the average of the top 5 people you're with. So surround yourself with people who are doing better than you and also help others up too.
That's great advice. Well, this has been a real treat for us to get to spend this time with you today. And I just want to say to our listeners, if any of you have any referrals, and I would say for the state of Alaska, would that be fair, Aurora?
Yeah, depending on what the property is, we're South Central, so we can help pretty much here, but I can also help refer you to somebody else if I can't.
Okay, absolutely. So look no further than Tag Real Estate. We'll have Aurora's contact information in the show notes. Again, Aurora, thank you. This has been a real treat for us.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me.
Now a brief word from our sponsors. Stick around.
Add a renovation solution to your business with Keller Offers Ready to Sell. Through this program, you can help prepare a client's house for the market with renovation, all while avoiding any upfront costs. This could be replacing the old dirty carpet with updated flooring or even just a fresh coat of paint. There are both credit-based and equity-based options available for homeowners, and the renovation cost is repaid with the proceeds of the home sale. Especially in a shifting market, it's important to stand out and have options. Get Ready to Sell certified for free and add this additional tool to your tool belt by visiting app.kelleroffers.com. Chase, that was so refreshing visiting with Aurora. What a great story. You know, obviously she just has a love for Alaska.
Yeah. Aurora's not the only one we've talked to that was investing in real estate before selling real estate as kind of a sales professional, right? That's actually what I did before I got into real estate kind of full time. And I love that piece because there's just also a passion there, Bruce, for what real estate as an investment can do, not only for her, she's pursuing that and was prior, but now also for her clients and walking them through that journey. I always think that that's kind of icing on the cake of a great sales career, what some see it as, and yet she and others think of it really as like the foundation, right?
I love the hamburger analogy.
Yeah.
The roof and the foundation, right? And sort of she's doing that with her business, right? Around investment. I mean, you could tell her level of commitment. The fact that she was willing to move back in with her parents really speaks to that. Hey, I'm going to make money from this. This is actually a good deal. It was really sort of refreshing to get that perspective, right? The investor perspective. And, you know, we've heard this time and time again in these interviews, right? The power of having a coach to help drive your business.
Yep. And that was where she really said it started to click for her when she hired a coach. And the other thing too, Bruce, that we hear a lot of and Aurora pursued as well was collaborating with those that were doing better than her, right? Like, who are the top agents? How can I take them out to coffee, learn from them, model after them, get into conversation with them, do open houses for them, whatever it takes. She wasn't shy or bashful about doing that. Doing that along with hiring a professional coach, right? Someone who provides that extra layer of accountability rather than just advice. It really is a game changer for so many of our top producing realtors, right? And Aurora still has a coach. And most of them do, right? It's not like a one-time thing. It's actually part of the growth and journey throughout a successful career.
I hope our listeners hear that. I keep coming back, and I know I've shared this before on the podcast, and that is the Isaac Newton quote that Gary put in The Millionaire Real Estate Agent. And the quote is, if I have seen further than others, it's because I was standing on the shoulders of giants. And that plays out in our industry, regardless of whether you're a brand new agent, you've been in it for 5 years, 10 years, 50 years. There are always people who have gone before you, who have achieved whatever it is you want to achieve, that you could actually go and take them to coffee or to lunch and actually pick their brain and learn from their experience.
Absolutely, Bruce. And you can go a step further than that, right? If you can get connected to models, which Aurora did through the MREA. And in essence, those models were just collected by Gary and Jay from those that were achieving at the highest level and put into the book. It's even better than just the advice or just being around them. So there's these layers, right? Like ask the people that have gone before you, hire a coach, follow the model. She talked about an experience in not following the model, right? Which is sometimes, unfortunately, how we learn the best, by making mistakes. But, you know, she talked about hiring a buyer's agent before an assistant. And of course, you and I know, and Aurora knows now too, that then you are still your own assistant and you become the assistant for your buyer's agent. And that just doesn't work out from a leverage perspective. It doesn't achieve the goal. And by following the model or coming back to the model, in this case for her, it made a world of difference. And now she's on her way to mastering leverage using those that have gone before us and the models that actually work rather than just throwing stuff at the wall and hoping it sticks.
Absolutely. And not only just, you know, as we mentioned, we think that's a good practice to go and take people who have done more than you to lunch. But, you know, take advantage of masterminds, Chase. And that's an opportunity that we provide our listeners as well. And we'll put a link in the show notes here around our Northern Lights masterminds as an opportunity to learn from, again, people who've gone before you. So, yeah, I just thought that was a really neat deal. And I loved her approach, right? And you called it out, right? It's sort of everything old is new again, right? The idea of sending a physical birthday card out to her sphere of influence, right? And the power that has in connection, right? Because we know our business is relational and it's built on relationships.
And she also does these really cool local events, right? Sponsors these local community events that she turns into a client event. Man, I thought I'd love to go to an ice carving, event and learn how to use the tools and watch them get to do that. So I can only imagine the uniqueness of community events in Alaska that she gets to take advantage of, right? But ultimately, Bruce, it's for the same reason as the physical birthday card. It's something that's different and unique that endears her to those that already care about her and have worked with her and want to refer her. And that really is the name of the game. Not to mention, just as she did, it is also a way to give back and do good in the community, which certainly fills our buckets, but again, deepens that relationship with your sphere of influence and your community.
I hope our listeners didn't miss it, is regardless of how people find you nowadays, they're going to stalk you on social media to see what you look like and how you show up. I think what she said was actually really brilliant, and I've heard it numerous times, right, where you cannot be just all business on social media. It's boring. You've got to show your real, authentic self. That's what people are looking for. And she does that. Again, we follow models, and I've seen models of this where 4 personal posts for every 1 professional post, right? And you get to control and curate what those posts look like. And in her case, it's selling the lifestyle of Alaska. And both you and I are big fans of Alaska. But that same model can be taken anywhere any of us live. And I would really encourage our listeners to do that. Next week's Northern Lights guest is Michelle Bailey with Keller Williams Realty Boise in Boise, Idaho. We'll see you next week on The Real Look. This podcast is produced by Marissa Frost. Visit kwnwr.com to access the show notes from today's episode. Head over to Spotify, Apple, or wherever you get your podcast to subscribe to The Real Look. And don't forget to leave us a review. Thanks again for listening. We'll be back next week with a breakdown of all things real estate.